Welcome back to Harbor. Well, the speculation continued today about Christie of New Jersey, whether he'll reconsider running for president as he prepares to deliver a speech tonight at the Reagan Presidential Library out in Simi Valley. But this hype about the New Jersey governor says as much about what they don't have in their current frontrunners, Rick Perry and Mitt Romney, doesn't it? They don't seem to be satisfied, the Republicans, with what they got. And what do they not see in them that's causing them to beg Christie to reconsider? That's the key question. Longtime Republican strategist Steve Schmidt ran John McCain's presidential campaign in 2008. And John Hallman covers politics for New York Magazine. He co-authored Game Change, and he's writing another one. Let's start with Steve Schmidt. You're on the inside of the Republican Party. And yesterday, here he is, Governor Tom Kean, the former very popular governor of Jersey, told National Review that Christie was thinking him very seriously about running. He went on to say, quote, "It's real." He's giving a lot of thought to it. "I think the odds are a lot better now than they were a couple weeks ago." Well, then today, Chris Christie's brother, Todd, a Republican fundraiser, told New Jersey Press, quote, "I'm sure that he's not going to run. If he's lying to me, I'll be as stunned as I've ever been in my life." Well, what is it? Is there a chance this big guy's going to get in the race? Because everybody seems to want him in, from Karl Rove to Barbara Bush is calling him and Kissinger's calling him. Everybody seems to want him in.
Well, we're a political party that believes in markets, and there's clearly a market for another candidate in the race, particularly when you look at the donor class in the tri-state area, New York and New Jersey. A lot of interest in Chris Christie getting into the race. I don't believe he's going to run. I take his brother's word for it, but there is a huge opportunity for him if he decides to do it, and he'll be a formidable candidate for the nomination.
I like the way you answer a question. It goes up, it comes down, and actually ends. Some people don't stop talking. I'm serious. You know how to answer a question. One of our recent guests didn't know how to do that. Let's go to John Howman. John, it looks to me like 2 weeks ago, before before Rick Perry got the dunce cap put on his head, which sits firmly on it right now, there was no talk of adding to this field, like Steve just said. Everybody seemed content and satisfied with who was running. It's changed overnight.
Well, Chris, I mean, it's been the case for most of the year that there's been talk about other people getting in, including Chris Christie. So this is not totally new. It seemed like when Perry got in, like that talk quieted down for a little while. And there's no question that the weakness of his performance in a series of debates is what has reignited this talk now. You know, when it comes to Christie, my reporting says that he has, in fact, as Tom Kean indicated in that quote, that he has been taking it much more seriously in the last couple of weeks, that his switched to some extent. 9 months ago, he was saying things privately to people like, "I don't think I want to run." I think in the last couple of weeks, he has become more enlivened to the possibility that maybe he actually does want to run, but the explorations he's been doing is, can I run? Is it now too late? Could I actually, are the hurdles, and some of the same hurdles that faced Rick Perry, so formidable that even with my skills, it might just be too late for me now, even though I kind of have changed my mind about the desirability of trying to get in.
Well, as the Penguin once said in the Batman movie, things change. And look at this, a bit of good news for Chris Christie at home in Jersey. Despite his tough talk, and he's been very tough up there, his approval rating has gone up now. He's now at 54%, very high, 30%, 36% disapproval. Steve, does that give a guy like him or a woman like him, a politician, that sense of, I got some capital now, maybe I can risk going for this thing? They like me at home, nobody can dump on me for that.
Well, when Chris Christie's thinking about this, and you talk to people who are close to Chris Christie, the first consideration is this, is he's going to have a very tough reelection. And even though his approval numbers are strong right now, New Jersey is a Democratic state, and it's not going to be a rose-strewn path for his reelection. And secondly, his moment is now. And it's not often that moments like this occur in American politics, and they certainly don't typically last for 4 years. He has a legitimate shot to be the Republican nominee, and because of the president's numbers, a legitimate shot to be president of the United States if he takes the shot now. It'll be fascinating to see what he does.
That's a good question, John Howman. The galloping horse of history is riding by this guy. Yeah. Is he going to get on it? Because can you think of a time where there's been a big call for somebody to run 1 year, and then 4 or 8 years later it happens again? It seems to me, I can't think of one.
No, and in fact, I can think of a counterexample. A lot of people, Chris, talk about how to make Steve's point, that you have a moment, that it's your time. And they say, well, look at how Barack Obama seized his moment, even though he, by some traditional standards, didn't have the resume that was required to run in 2008. The other example that really drives home the point, and it makes the point about why I think Chris Christie may regret it for the rest of his life if he doesn't run, is Hillary Clinton in 2004, which we reported about in Game Change. She was in the same position in a lot of ways as Christie is now. A very weak field, the Democratic donor class and a lot of the establishment unhappy with John Kerry, unhappy with Howard Dean, begging her to get in, and her considering it as late as November of 2003, and then deciding not to run. And I think that history has shown that Hillary Clinton missed her time. 2004 was the year she should have run, and when 2008 came around, it wasn't her time anymore, and Barack Obama stepped in and took it away from her. And I think that could easily happen to Christie again in 2016 if he wants to try to run then.
Bottom line, yes or no, you thought she could have won in 2004?
I do. I think she could have won the nomination. I think she could have won the presidency.
Okay. Steve, what's missing in the Republican soup right now that they're looking so hard for Christie?
I think electability is going to be a key issue in the Republican race. And I think Mitt Romney has done a tremendous job in these debates, just an enormous improvement from 4 years ago. I think he's actually quite good. But I think that there's elements of the Republican Party that haven't settled on him yet as the candidate who's best able to take on the president. And certainly Rick Perry's, performances, while not disastrous, have been near disastrous, counting the last one. So there's a lot of unsettlement in terms of looking for a candidate that's best able to take the president on and to defeat him.
Are you still dying that Sarah's not in it?
Well, I don't know what she's going to do. I don't think anybody does, whether she gets in or whether she's not. You saw new poll numbers out today that show, the majority of Republicans don't want her to run. And if she does run, she's a second or third tier candidate in the race. And I think, that there will be contributions made by some of these other candidates to the outcome of the race. But, for right now, it remains a two-person race between Romney and Perry.
I can't. Your vote is not for Sarah. Anyway, thank you, Steve Schmidt. She doesn't know anything. Anyway, Steve Schmidt, you'll never forget that's going in Bartlett's, by the way. She doesn't know anything. Anyway, thank you, John Heilman.